Okay, the veteran's name is Joyce Lowndes Robinson. She was born on August 4th, 1920. She served in World War II and she achieved the rank of captain in the U.S. Army. We are recording this on November 10th, 2015. My name is Lindsay Odom. I'm conducting this interview and I have no relation. Okay, Captain Robinson, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
I had a very attractive young couple, my parents. My mother was 20 and my father was 21. And they, from the day I was born, sort of decided that I was going to be the first child ever in the family to go to college. Mm-hmm. And I went right along with that idea. And so I went to Bucyrus College in 1938. And want any more about my childhood?
Yeah, whatever you would like to include.
I had a brother and a sister,
okay.
and we lived in a village outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And we would roller skated up and down the long hill just in front of our house. In fact, we were very happy to have a pavement there because a lot of people in our village didn't have pavements. And I was stunned to my parents when I said that I wanted to take college courses in high school. Nobody had done that in this large family, and so I got a scholarship to Bucyrus College, and I kept my grades up, so I renewed it every year. And my father said that if I had the scholarship that I could live at the college instead of living at home and going to the University of Pennsylvania, which was 10 miles away and 2 bus stops. And I did not want to do that. So I kept my grades up and I got the scholarship and I went to this lovely Bucyrus College. And the Navy came by our senior year and virtually enlisted all the young men to go to officer training school. And I asked if I could go too, and they said, "We don't take women, ma'am." And they hadn't taken women yet. So, okay, so I went to the Army. And the Army said, "Sure, you can come." And I said, "I want to go in officer training." "Oh, you do?" I said, "Well, all the boys in my class are going in officer training." "Oh. Okay." Well, another girl in Boston, her father happened to be head of some university in Boston, was the same way. She was determined. She wanted to go in the Army, but she was not going to go in as enlisted, since all the men in her class were going in as officers. So we were the 2 youngest women in officer training.
Wow, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about what you did to enlist, or how you got into the Army.
Mainly I got in the Army just because all the young men in my class were going in college. Mm-hmm. Were going to go into the Navy. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was an English major, and I wasn't really crazy about the idea of teaching. And that was the only thing I saw open to me. And so when I found out that I could get into the Army, that just thrilled me. Mm-hmm. And so a couple of days after I graduated from college, I was in the Army.
Awesome. So tell me about training camp and the early days of training camp for the Army.
Well, we were so new, the women were so new in the Army that they were very careful about our training, and they didn't really push us very much at all. I mean, the push came later. In fact, I think the push came with us, that we wanted to have everybody up to the men. And so the training I found easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they train you differently than they did the men, or?
Well, they didn't teach us to shoot.
Oh, really?
Did they teach us to shoot?
No.
At some point I learned oh, I know, I was later, yeah. Mm-hmm. But,
Okay. So where did you train for the Army?
Where did I train?
It's okay.
Someplace in the Middle West.
Mm-hmm. And did you specialize in anything while you trained?
Well, in languages.
Okay.
And so when I finished training, they decided that I would learn Japanese. So they sent me to school to learn Japanese, so that the minute the war was over, I could be sent to Japan to work with the Japanese.
That is amazing. So did you go to,
Oh yeah,
to Japan?
and the war, after let me think, I had a year and a half of Japanese training.
Okay.
And the war was over. Our whole class was just shipped right to Japan.
Oh, wow.
But that was easy in a way. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes, I would love to hear about that.
All right. The head, what's his name? The emperor told the people, just do what the Americans tell you, and in the end it will work out. And General MacArthur just paraded around and said, you will do this and you will do that, period. And so everybody did exactly what we told the Japanese told them to do. And I'd never had a bit of trouble. I was never scared at night. And they never did give us guns. And I had a lot of Japanese working for me. Plus, one young American man, I think he was 17 or something, his parents were missionaries over there. And he was brought up between there and the United States. So he was totally bilingual. And so I would ask him to move around. And I said, I don't care what they're talking about, but if it's against the United States, I want to know. And so every once in a while he would tell me something, and I would call that person in front. Well, it was only 3 times that I had to do it. I called that person in front of me, and I said, you were caught doing this, and you were fired right now with no money, and you will never work in the United States again. And so everybody heard it, all 50 people there.
Wow.
So they weren't very anxious to do it.
So was that included in some of your daily activities in Japan?
No, it wasn't. It was not daily. It was rarely.
Oh, okay. So what were your daily activities or your daily routine like there?
Well, just checking with the 2 people who were bilingual. One was the American. And just to be sure that everybody was telling us, we wanted to know what the Japanese said bad about us, because we wanted to correct it. That was the reason we wanted to know.
Okay.
That's what MacArthur said. And so they would check, and after the first 2 people were fired because they hadn't included something bad that they were saying about us, and there were letters that people were writing back and forth to each other, or letters that were supposedly going abroad.
Okay.
And they didn't say anything bad about us. So it was really, they stopped it.
Right. So you would decipher the letters in a way almost?
Pardon?
You would decipher the letters in a way almost, or just read about them?
We read about them and put them in the mail.
Okay.
Put them back in the mail. Occasionally we'd cut something out.
Okay. Awesome. So how long were you in Japan for?
A year.
A year. So did you know General MacArthur?
I saluted him 2
Really?
times.
Awesome. What was he like?
Very erect, very much the general, and he knew he was the general.
Right.
But, and the Japanese just, boy, they would do anything he said.
Really?
And in fact, the emperor and their head military man said, do whatever the general says, or in fact, whatever his officers say. I never was scared once over there. Well, I've never been scared in my life except once.
When were you scared once?
In Ecuador.
Oh, really?
I was being chased by, what were those Indians?
Colorado.
Colorado Indians.
Oh my goodness. That's insane.
Well, anyway.
So what other things did you witness while you were in Japan or just while you were serving?
Well, I witnessed people striving very hard to get their lives back in order. And they still loved their emperor, and I'm very grateful that MacArthur let him stay in. And they would do anything, because the emperor said, do whatever the military tells you, they would do anything that we said. And so then the guy under MacArthur said, don't you tell them to do anything idiotic. You just things we need done. And it worked out.
Right. So tell me about your friendships that you met or that you made while you were in service.
Well, I had a boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and actually he was from South Carolina.
Oh, really?
And we knew that we met when we were learning Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew we would both be sent to Japan together. And but I got home first, and he came home several months later, and of course he came right up to see me, and he said, "Come with me, and we'll get married in South Carolina."
Oh, wow.
And I gulped, and I said, "Did I really, really love him?" I thoroughly enjoyed him, and I said no, so I didn't go.
Mm-hmm. So were there any other women with you in Japan?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
And they treated you the same as they did the men, you think?
The Army women?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Okay, awesome. So tell me about being a captain and how you came to be one.
It just felt normal.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you stay in touch with any other veterans?
Just one.
Okay. Who was that?
Phoebe Fitz.
Okay.
And her father was head of some university in Massachusetts.
Awesome. So you said that you never felt scared in Japan.
Never.
Why was that? You just felt...
Our military was there, and the emperor told his people not to do anything to us.
Right. So tell me a little bit about working with the Japanese, too.
Well, again, they did whatever we told them to
Right.
do.
So they were really kind.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was no problem.
Right.
And the fact is that they were happy to have jobs with us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We paid them well because they were all highly educated people that we had working for us.
Yeah.
Very highly educated.
Awesome. So you said you were in Japan for about a year?
A year.
What did you do after that?
I came home, and then my girlfriend that I knew when we were encoding and decoding messages back and forth between our embassies in South America and Washington, decided we would take a little trip around South America.
Oh, awesome. What did you do in South America?
Well, she was a top-notch secretary. I mean, more than a secretary, head of an office.
Okay.
And she just said that, she liked she took one breath of Bogota, Colombia, and said, "I'm going to work here." I said, "Oh, are you?" And she went to the, what was the oil company, Pam? An oil company. She had worked for an oil company previously. And so she went to the oil company, said she wanted a job. They gave her a job instantly. And she asked them, "Well, I have a girlfriend. She doesn't really know how to type very well. And can you think of something for her to do?" And they gave me a job.
Okay.
So we worked for 6 months for the oil company
Oh, wow.
in Bogota, Colombia.
Wow.
But she hated the altitude. The altitude didn't bother me. It was an odd altitude, I think 8,000 feet or something. Maybe it was 6,000. And it bothered me. So we said, we didn't sign any contracts. Goodbye. And we got down to northern Chile, and we decided let's go up and see that copper mine, just so we can say we saw it. Got up there, and they pounced on us. "Do you girls type? Will you fix up our office?"
Wow.
So we stayed there for a couple of months, I guess,
Right.
and fixed up their office. Goodbye.
Wow.
And then we went down. Nobody offered us a job in Santiago, Chile. And so we went across. We always went by land, never by train.
Right.
So we went across by land and stopped in Paraguay, which is in the middle between Chile and Argentina. And we always went to the embassy to get our MAIL, and I got my MALE.
Okay. What is your MAILE?
MALE.
MALE.
I married him.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Awesome. So what was it like going home after the war? Was it different than you were leaving, or did anything in World War II affect Colombia?
Oh, after the war, before I went to South America? Yeah, it was different, yeah.
Did you see any of your family members when you went back home?
Oh, I saw my family a lot,
Okay.
and old friends, yeah.
Okay. Were you the only one in your family that served?
No, my brother did,
Okay.
and a couple of relatives.
Right. Awesome. So you talked about decoding messages in Japan. Was that something that was kind of like secretive?
Oh, very.
Very? Yeah.
Yep, very secretive.
Did they like ask you not to say anything, or obviously you
Oh,
were
it was
in Japan,
automatically
so-
assumed you would never talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So did they train you when you got to Japan at first, when you knew what you, like, how to decode the messages? Or?
Yeah, well, somehow or other I knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I did it in Florida.
Right, okay. So in Florida, is that where they taught you how to speak Japanese?
Yes.
Okay.
No. University of Michigan.
Oh, that's right. They
Okay.
they sent me to the University of Michigan.
Okay.
Pam knows about it. Yep, because that's where they had the Japanese teachers.
Okay.
And I was supposed to be there several years, but they said they needed people desperately in Japan as soon as the war was over. You know Japanese, you don't learn Japanese in a
Right.
short period of time.
Yeah, that sounds hard. So did you learn the majority of it in Michigan or while you were over in Japan?
More when I was in Japan.
So tell me about when you first got to Japan. Did you know what you were going to be doing there when you got
Well,
there?
they told me what I was going to be doing.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Got you. So coming home, how did you return? You just came, did you go straight to Columbia or you came back to America?
Oh, I lived in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I went to Pennsylvania.
So was it good to see your family when
Oh,
you came
yeah,
back?
it was great.
What was it like readjusting to civilian life? How long did you stay in Columbia for, actually?
Well, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Well, when did I decide to go to South America, Pam? 1949.
Okay.
My girlfriend and I decided we'd do that trip around South America.
Okay, awesome. So back to Japan, what was your favorite part about being there?
But just to see how grateful the Japanese were to have the war over.
Mm-hmm.
And I expected to have a lot of trouble having them to do what I asked them to do. No trouble. But between their emperor telling them no trouble, and MacArthur, this great big guy, saying no trouble, they did whatever we told them to do.
Right. What was the hardest part about being in Japan?
I didn't find anything terribly hard.
That's awesome. So how have your wartime experiences affected your life?
I guess quite a bit. I sure learned to say what I want, don't I, Pam?
That's awesome. Are you thankful that you went into the Army?
Oh, yes. Especially at that time.
Right. What valuable lessons did you learn there?
I don't know. I guess truthfulness and, to be a good compatriot of the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Did you have any close calls to being wounded or killed? It seemed like you were pretty safe in Japan.
Yes. I felt safer in Japan than I did at one point later in Ecuador.
Were you ever in combat in Japan?
Oh, no.
No.
We weren't even allowed to have a gun.
Okay.
I mean, they finally taught us how to shoot, sort of, before we went. They said, just in case things got bad and they were going to have to issue us guns. But we didn't have guns.
Okay. What was your most vivid memory of being in Japan?
So many memories. Oh my golly. Well, I think the thing was we were just so shocked at how the Japanese did whatever we told them to do.
What did you think it was going to be like before you went? They wouldn't be
Well,
cooperative?
that they would be cozy about doing things and be slow and try to keep us from doing whatever it is what we wanted to do without actually not doing it.
Right.
Yeah, and there was none of that.
Okay. Awesome. Tell me more about your memories of being in Japan.
Oh my golly.
Tell her what Japan itself was like.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we bombed it.
Right.
And not Tokyo, but somehow or other, I was a captain, And occasionally, on a weekend, I could get a Jeep
Okay.
for the weekend. It's sort of on a list of things. And my boyfriend was a first lieutenant, so he was one grade under me, and he couldn't get a Jeep. So I hated to drive that darn Jeep. Well, I had to drive the Jeep out of the garage where it was to wherever my boyfriend was, which was around the corner.
Right.
And he would drive it from then on.
Okay.
So we drove all over that one island of Japan.
What was your favorite thing to see on the island or to do?
Well,
Or
just
where would
how
you drive
the people were really almost nice to us.
Really?
And always did precisely and absolutely what we wanted.
Mm-hmm. Did you see destruction in Japan?
Oh, yes.
What was that like?
Horrible.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it just was so awful
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard to describe.
Right. So what were the barracks like in Japan?
But the thing was that we avoided destroying places that they honored,
Okay.
sort of church places, and so purposely avoided it.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. What were the barracks like in Japan?
The what?
The barracks like in Japan, where you
Oh.
stayed?
Well, we didn't stay in barracks.
Okay, where'd you stay?
In a lovely hotel.
Oh, really? Wow.
But it had GI, beds, linens and bedspreads, and no decorations. They
Okay.
took all the decorations out
Why did they do that?
because they didn't want us to ruin them.
Really?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
They were bare rooms
Okay.
with ordinary, everyday sheets and pillowcases.
Did you have a roommate or a roommate?
Oh yes, I had a roommate. Mhm.
Did you like living with your roommate?
Oh, it was great, yeah.
And y'all did the same thing in Japan?
Well, we had this house. It was a house, really,
Okay.
a prince's house.
Really?
And actually, part of his family waited on us,
Oh, wow.
and it was pretty unique.
So were they very hospitable then?
Yeah, and the men had more. Eventually, we went to the hotel
Mm-hmm.
too.
Okay. So you said that they didn't teach y'all how to shoot, or y'all didn't have guns?
Well, they tried to teach me how to shoot, but I didn't learn. I mean, I couldn't do it.
Really?
My boyfriend had to come and do it for me.
Okay. So what other equipment did you have?
None.
None.
We didn't have equipment.
Tell me about your uniforms or what y'all wore.
Oh, I liked my uniform.
What was that like?
It was green skirt and tan jacket and my insignia and all that.
Mm-hmm. What was the weather like in Japan when you were there?
It was not as cold in the winters and a tiny bit hotter in the summer.
Okay.
Well, it was more like South Carolina.
Okay. So
Yeah.
did you get there in the summer or in the winter? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
What was the food like in Japan?
Oh, we had Army food,
Okay.
but officers' mess.
Oh, really?
I was an officer.
Right. So y'all got better food?
Oh, in fact, we had our own officers' mess, I mean, with a woman, managing it, and it had the reputation to the best food in Japan.
Really?
And so everybody's friends wanted to come there to eat.
Right. Okay.
And we could bring one person, we told them ahead of time, extra for dinner or any meal.
Mm-hmm.
And my boyfriend was always asking me, can't I go to your room? I could, let us have dinner at your place.
Would you bring them?
Sure.
Yeah. What kind of food was it?
Best
Okay.
U.S. food
Yeah.
you could possibly get.
Really? What was your favorite? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
Did you ever get to try the Japanese food?
Occasionally she would have Japanese food. Mm-hmm.
So what else, what other memories do you have of being in Japan? Or stories do you have?
Well, that all has sort of dulled at the moment. You're reminding me a lot of it. After a year, I was ready to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been in the Army then over 3 years.
Right.
And I was ready to go home and begin my life.
Right. How old were you when you came back home?
I think I was 28, wasn't I? Was I 28? 27, I guess.
7. Wow. So tell me about coming home. I know that you went to Columbia, and then did you come back to Pittsburgh after
No,
that?
I was from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So did you go back to Pennsylvania and start a life there after the
Oh,
war?
I went back to Pennsylvania, and that was when we decided to go to South America.
Okay. So how long were you in South America for?
18 years.
18 years. Wow. So a long time.
Well, we worked in these countries, and then we went by land all the time, and so we went across from Chile to Argentina, which is Paraguay, and it was there I met my husband.
Okay. So where in South America did y'all meet? In Chile or Argentina?
No, about Paraguay.
Oh, okay, Paraguay.
Yeah.
So did y'all move?
He was he worked in the embassy as a young officer.
Okay.
And he saw my friend and I, girlfriend and I, getting our MAIL, and I got my MALE.
I love that. So did y'all live in Paraguay for a couple of years?
No, well, we were only there a short time, a week maybe, and then we went to Brazil, and we got to Brazil, and I started getting cables. Come back to Paraguay.
Oh, really?
From him.
Okay.
And finally, I said to her, "Look, I have to go back and take another look at that young man."
Right.
And so she said, "Well, I want to go to Europe," and so we parted in Brazil, and I went back to Paraguay.
And then what did y'all do there?
Get married.
Got married. So how long did you live in Paraguay when you were married?
Not very long.
No.
Joanne was born in the United States, wasn't she?
Yes, but you were living in Cuba when she was.
Oh, that's right. No, we were signed from Paraguay to Cuba.
Okay.
That's right. And I decided I did not want Joanne born, my first girl, born in Cuba. So I went home and had her at home.
Okay. Where was she born in the United States?
I'm in Pennsylvania, well, Bryn Mawr Hospital.
Okay. So how did you end up in Clemson?
Oh, well, that's another story. Pam was here.
Okay.
She married a man, and he became a professor at SWU, and she was 18.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. You were young.
But turned out brilliantly.
Okay, good. So
Well, she finished college and everything. Married.
Awesome. Where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to college?
Penn State.
Okay.
Because he had a job there,
Mhm.
and he was getting his PhD.
Right. A lot of my professors at Clemson are from Penn State too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Awesome. Well, what advice would you have for someone my age, just looking back at your life and what you've learned from being in the war and from traveling?
Well, your parents wouldn't like what I have to say.
Oh, really? Why is
But
that?
just go for your dreams, and prepare to do whatever you're going to do, but go for it.
Right. Awesome. Well, do you have any other stories of being in Japan or anything like that? Or what are some of your favorite stories of her service that you remember growing up?
Golly. I just can't think at the moment what happened.
Well, tell her about being in the Pentagon
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I worked in the Pentagon
Okay.
For a while.
when she was in the military.
Okay.
When I was in the military. And well, it just was unique. I mean, everybody was in uniform,
Right.
and we were down low in the most secret place that they had in the whole Pentagon, because we had all the secret messages coming back and forth between. I was dealing with South America,
Okay.
or Latin America,
Okay.
and we had all these secret messages, and I learned so very much about South America.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to go down there when I got out of the Army.
Right. So you just learned a lot about their culture?
More about their history and geography, what they planned to do,
Right.
and important things,
Mm-hmm.
and what the government had to say.
Right. Awesome. What was your favorite thing about working in the Pentagon?
Well, the fact that I could learn so much.
Right. Definitely.
What did you not like about working in the Pentagon?
Being locked in the room,
Oh, and were you behind a desk a lot?
Oh, yeah, behind the desk a lot.
So what do you say when you were locked in a room?
Well, you know, people had to ask to come in. People just couldn't come in. Or no one could visit me at my desk.
Oh, okay. Just because it was the security was so high?
Yeah, because it was secure.
Mm-hmm.
And supposing I was dealing with secret documents. Well, they weren't very secret, but they were marked secret.
Right. So what kind of documents did you work with, or what were your daily tasks like in the Pentagon?
Just mainly reading mail.
Mm-hmm.
And tell her about the computers, what they were like.
Oh, yeah. The very first computers we had, and those darn computers, we had a time getting them to work.
Really? Yeah.
And they were huge, room size.
Gigantic.
Big computers?
And
Yeah.
made a lot of noise.
Really?
As big as that thing.
Oh, wow. That is really large
Yeah, they're big.
compared to what they have now, especially.
Yeah.
So, did they teach you how to use those computers at the Pentagon?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you like working with those or
No, I didn't really like that.
No.
Mm-mm.
What kind of things would you do on them? Just the same documents? Use the same documents, or?
Documents that we wanted to be sure to have,
Right. Okay.
to keep.
Mhm. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Anything else?
Oh, dear. Well, I've just had such a great life.
Yeah.
And I worked, well, two great husbands.
Mhm.
You know, her daddy was an ambassador.
Oh, really? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you like to see her uniform?
I would love to.
See what?
Your uniform?
Where is it?
Is
Well,
it here?
I'll go look.
I think that Carolyn has it.
No, I don't think so. I think you have it here someplace.
Oh, did I?
I'll look.
Did you wear that same uniform when you were in the Pentagon?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
You wore it all the time.
Okay.
You couldn't have dress clothes.
Right. Wow. Would you wear it in South America too?
No,
No.
I wasn't in the Army in South America.
Right. Okay.
No, I didn't even take it with me to South America.
Did you meet a lot of friends in the Pentagon?
Yes, I made friends in the Pentagon.
Was there anyone that you worked with in Japan that you also worked with in the Pentagon, or did everyone
Yes.
go their
mhm.
separate ways?
I almost married him, and actually he was from South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. So he went back to the Pentagon too?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So was it nice to have them there and have
Yeah,
some
yeah,
familiar faces?
Yeah. But then I decided to go to South America.
Right.
That ended that.
Yeah.
I said, write to me, he never wrote to me.
Really?
Goodbye.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
But it lucked out,
Yeah.
because her daddy, he worked in the embassy in Paraguay.
Okay.
And I knew from the minute I met him that he was not going to be way low down an officer, he was going to go up.
Right.
And he sure did, up to be captain, to be ambassador.
Oh, wow. Are there some pictures?
Some pictures, I'm still looking for the uniform. Is this the tie to your uniform?
Oh, wow.
Let me see. Yeah.
That
It's
is
dark
amazing.
green. Where'd you find that?
Oh,
medals.
wow. Tell me about your medals.
Oh, let me think now. This says what they are.
Women's Army
The
Corps.
Women's Army Corps, the American Campaign,
Mm-hmm.
the Pacific. What does it say?
Pacific
Oh,
Campaign.
the Pacific Campaign.
Mm-hmm.
This was for Japan
Okay.
and the World War II.
So where did you get each of these medals?
After the war was over.
Okay. Did they have a ceremony?
But actually, no, I had little ones.
Okay.
The little
Right.
things that you wore on your uniform.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they have a ceremony for you when you came back where you got your medals?
Not really.
Yeah. Which one's your favorite? Which one
I
means
don't
the
know.
most to you?
I enjoyed the whole time, but I guess the time in Japan was, the occupation
Right.
was the most interesting.
Yeah.
And I felt I had something I could help people with.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Do you want to set that
Yes.
down? That's my family.
Okay.
This is, will you tell her about it?
Yeah.
That's me in uniform.
Oh, wow. Yep, there's your tie. Oh, you're beautiful. Your eyelashes are so long.
And this was my handsome brother.
Oh.
My sister and I just had a fit. He had those deep blue eyes and that blonde curly hair.
Oh, yes.
Why did the boy have to get that? And this is my sister.
Okay.
And she married young to this young man who well, he was 21 and he had just finished being in the Navy.
Okay.
He was 22. And he served on some vessel or other in the, when he was in the Navy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he was an officer.
Okay. So were you the oldest or the youngest of your siblings?
I was the oldest child of
Okay.
3. Mm-hmm.
And where did your brother serve, you said?
Well, he was 6 years younger.
Oh, okay.
So he was drafted into the Army, and they sent him to Japan, to Europe, and the war in Europe was declared over as he was sailing.
Oh, really?
And he was sent to Germany.
Wow.
And so he was in Germany, but the war was over, so
Oh, my goodness.
he didn't have to fight.
Did he find out on the ship, or did he find out once
I
he
don't
got
know
to
when
Germany?
he found
You don't
out.
know. Wow.
But it was a scary moment.
Right.
This is heavy, Pam.
And Mom's husband, second husband, Robbie, he was in the Army as well.
Yeah.
And he had a very difficult experience going down to the Philippines. He was sent down to the Philippines, and his brother had been taken prisoner of war before he got there.
Oh, wow.
And his unit was trying to rescue the brother and all the other prisoners of war, and they didn't get there in time.
Oh, wow.
And the brother was sent on a Japanese ship to Japan, and the ship was bombed by the U.S.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so that was a much different
That sounds like
experience.
the Unbroken story.
Uh-huh.
With Louis was his name, I
Louis
think.
Zen.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to pronounce, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is my dad,
Oh.
and this was in the Argentine embassy.
Uh-huh.
And that's my mom shaking hands with
Oh my
President
goodness!
Eisenhower.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
He was visiting our embassy,
Okay.
and Hank was in charge of the embassy, and of course I was first in line.
Right.
And then all these people are military people.
Okay.
And he was really terrific.
Yeah. What did he say to you? Do you remember?
I don't
Or did-
remember.
You know?
I was sort of in a state of shock.
Yeah.
But of course, he was a general
Right.
during the war.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you tell him that you served?
I don't remember if I did or not.
Yeah. Oh, that is so amazing. What a great picture, too.
Yeah. And well, anyway, the whole staff.
Mhm.
Her daddy, the ambassador, was very bright,
Mhm.
and he could remember things. Oof. Here, Pam, I'm going to give this back to you, but thank you for showing it.
That is a great picture. Wow.
But now you know my life.
Yes. Thank you so much for meeting with me and for your time.